Well, I've been backpacking for about 4 years now. I've been collecting gear. I've been buying gear. I mean, I still got gear from when I first got into backpacking 4 years ago. And there's a few pieces of gear that have been tried and true that are my go-to pieces of gear that I am absolutely in love with. And in this video, I'm going to highlight a couple pieces of gear that I've tested, that I've really used in the backcountry, that have proven their worth and proven their price. And so we'll go ahead and dig into it. Alright, so one of the pieces of gear that I have really tested and I've really come to love is the Thermarest NeoAir Xtherm. And this is the large version, so it's like wider and longer than the normal version. But I got it for a reason, because when I'm in my hammock, I want it to kind of cocoon me, and I also like to stretch out when I'm on the ground. And so I'm 5'9", I'm not very big. Karate Josh has the Xtherm, the same exact one. Tim has the same exact Xtherm. So when I bought mine, I knew exactly what I was getting. And it's just been a great piece of gear. I've used it all the way down into the teens. I've used it when it was, well, 95 degrees in Michigan in June with Jordan. And it's just been a great piece of gear. I bought it last November because me, Tim, Kyle, and Karate Josh were supposed to go backpacking in the Smokies, and it was supposed to be like 10 degrees or something like that. I'm like, well, my climate pad isn't gonna make it, so I bought the Xtherm. I think this version is right around $230. So it is a little more expensive than your traditional pads. But if you plan on doing any four-season backpacking, or backpacking in the snow, or colder weather, or you just want something that's going to be warmer than, if you're a cold sleeper, then the Xtherm is the way to go. Like I said, I've used it for many, many nights in the backcountry. I used it in Utah, Michigan. I used it in Oil Creek when it was cold. I mean, I've used it a ton, and it's just been a great pad. Durable, lightweight for what you get, and really the price isn't terrible. The next piece of gear is my Snowpeak Trek 700. This is a 700 milliliter pot. I bought it from REI. They're like, I think right around $45. So they're not too terribly expensive. My old cook pot I had was just some cheap $11 eBay one, and it did a really good job for the 2.5 years I had it. But I wanted something lightweight that was a little bit smaller and just easier to handle, and that's why I bought the Snowpeak. Obviously, Snowpeak is a really reputable company. I mean, they make all kinds of stuff, and they make cook pots, they make stoves. I mean, like I said, they make all kinds of stuff. And I'm a firm believer in buy once, cry once. You just pay the price, get something good. It's going to last you a long time. I've been using this for right around a year. I bought it, I believe, in January of 2018, and I used it, and I've been using it ever since. I used it in Oil Creek. I used it in Utah, Michigan, and many other places, car camping, day hiking, stuff like that. And I mean, as you can tell, it's pretty used and beat up. But this is a cook pot I'll probably have for the rest of my life. I'll probably never buy another one unless for some reason I'd lose this, which hopefully I don't. It's just been a really great cook pot. It's lightweight. I'm not sure exactly how much it weighs, but I will post the weight in the video. But it weighs almost nothing. It'll fit one of the small, here it is right here, the small fuel canister. I believe this is the 110 gram one, I believe, and so it'll fit in there. I fit my canister fuel, my cook kit, and a microfiber towel and a lighter in there, and then I put like my spork on the outside in the mesh sack, and it weighs almost nothing. It has just enough room, like I said, to put all your cooking stuff in there. Next piece of gear is the Priya Outdoors 15 degree sleeping bag. It is Thermodown, and the price is right around $160, I think. I've had mine for almost 3 years. I've used it a lot. This is probably, besides my Kelty 35 degree bag, I've probably used this just as much, if not more than that, sleeping bag. And for the price, it cannot be beat. It weighs a little over, I think it weighs 2 pounds 19 ounces is what it weighs, or 2 pounds 15 ounces is what it weighs. I believe right around there. So it is a little bit heavier than my 35-degree down bag, but obviously it's gonna weigh a little bit more than a 35-degree bag. It will compact down a little bit smaller than this. I'm just using an REI stuff sack, or whatever you want to call it, and I couldn't find the original stuff sack. But yeah, I've used this a ton, and the loft is great. It's just a really great sleeping bag. It's wide, and so like like I said, I'm a smaller person, but it's nice to get in a mummy style sleeping bag and not feel so constricted. I had a Marmot Aspen 40 sleeping bag. It was my first sleeping bag, and it was just so tight and compact. I just didn't like it, and so I told myself after that I was going to get sleeping bags that weren't so constricting. Now, typically, unless it's really cold, I don't use my sleeping bags as like a mummy style. I will open them up more like a quilt, and this is great in the hammock. It lofts up super big. I used it in Oil Creek in February. I used it in Dolly Sods. I've used it in Hocking Hills multiple times. And so it's just been a super great sleeping bag. And for the price, it really can't be beat. Like I said, it's right around $150, $160. And I've done some other research on comparable sleeping bags, and you're looking at spending a couple $100 more to get roughly the same thing. Now, these are made in China, I believe, and so it's not American made. But Priya Outdoors is a great company. I've got multiple pieces of gear from them. I've got the 15-degree sleeping bag. I used to have their tarp. I can remember the Sanctuary sill tarp, and then I have their Breeze mesh tent. And every piece of gear I've got from them has been awesome. It's been fantastic. I know Devin from Backcountry Exposure really likes their gear too. And there's just a lot of people that really like their gear. And if you're on a budget and you need a 15-degree sleeping bag, or a colder weather sleeping bag, they now offer a 0-degree bag and quilt. And I think they offer a 15-degree quilt as well now. But this is really the way to go if you're on a budget and want a really good, solid sleeping bag. There are so many different sock companies out there that make merino wool socks. You got Smart Wool, you've got Darn Tough. You got all these little, off-brand socks that you can get from Walmart or Kohl's or whatever, and everybody is kind of biased towards their favorite brand, and mine is Darn Tough. I've been using Darn Tough socks since I got into hiking a little over 4 years ago, and they are totally worth the price that you pay. They are a little expensive. A pair like this would cost about $25 at REI or on Amazon. If you get lucky though, I have bought socks from TJ Maxx or some other kind of stores like that, and these are Darn Tough. Sometimes they're a little they're irregular, so the Darn Tough will sell them for a little cheaper to places like that, and you can get them for $12, $13 for a pair, but they don't come with a lifetime warranty like the brand new ones you get from like REI or from any kind of backpacking outfitter. But as you can tell, I've got quite a few pairs of Darn Tough socks. I'm pretty sure I've got 3 or 4 more pairs in my dresser. But I've used, this pair right here I've had since I got into backpacking 4 years ago, and they just ripped in the heel earlier this summer in Utah. If I can find I can't even find the rip right now. Oh yeah, it's right here. So I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but they just ripped in the heel, and I actually melted them a little bit in Big South Fork, and so I finally had to retire these. I don't even know why I still have them, actually. I've been meaning to throw them away. But I've got multiple pairs of Darn Tough socks, and they've, again, those have lasted me almost 4 years. And then I got a couple other, I got a thick pair that I wear at night, and these ones I don't hike in. I will only wear these at night in camp. And then I like to have the little bit thinner Darn Tough socks to hike in, but still have a little bit of cushion and padding in the bottom. And if you're looking for a really good, high quality, long lasting pair of hiking socks, I highly recommend Darn Tough. I did have a pair of Smart Wool socks. They were like ankle, almost like a little above ankle socks, and they lasted me literally 2 months before I ripped a hole in them on the bottom of the foot. They just wore out way too quick, and they're not as expensive as Darn Tough socks, but you get what you pay for, and I highly recommend Darn Tough. So that is a couple pieces of gear I wanted to highlight that are tried and true, proven pieces of gear that I have used and abused in the backcountry that have really proven their worth to me, and I'll continue to use them until they finally give out one day, and I'll probably replace them with the exact same thing just because they've been such good pieces of gear for me. So that's all I got, guys. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.